Welcome back to F1 Report, everyone. We've just finished the 2020 Belgian Grand Prix. It was certainly a fast-paced and fun race. Belgium has always been one of my favourites. Beautiful long straights, fantastic long corners, and the most important thing of all, plenty of overtaking. The conditions for the race were relatively cool, certainly much cooler than Spain and Britain. The forecast had said a chance of rain, but sadly we didn't get to see any of that, which meant it was a fairly straightforward, dry race. Let's take a quick look at how the teams lined up after qualifying and going into the race. As you can see, Mercedes locked out the front row once again, Hamilton securing pole with another fantastic Hamilton-esque drive. Third was Verstappen. Fourth, a surprise with Ricciardo. He was very hungry all weekend. Fifth for Albon, improving slightly yet again. Sixth for Ocon, showing the Renault in general were on it this weekend. Seventh for Sainz. Eighth for Perez. Ninth for Stroll, which feels a little bit odd seeing the Racing Points qualifying so poorly right now. 10th for Norris, rounding out Q3. 11th was Kvyat. 12th for Gasly. A very poor 13th for Leclerc and 14th for Vettel. Absolutely crazy given how Ferrari performed so well here last year. 15th, Russell getting back into Q2 in the first race for Williams under their new ownership. 16th was Raikkonen. 17th, Grosjean. 18th, Giovinazzi. 19th, Latifi. And finally, 20th for Magnussen. So that's how we lined up going into the race. Let's take a look at how the race itself went. A Mercedes won too. Not something we've seen at this track for 5 years, but they're back into a league of their own this time out. Hamilton and Bottas were never really challenged outside of the first lap. I always run out of words to describe the dominance Hamilton has at times. He's just totally in the zone right now. Behind them was Verstappen, waiting to see if there were any tyre issues for him to pick up on. Sadly not this time out. In fourth and fifth we had the Renaults of Ricciardo and Ocon. A really great result for Renault, their best since Monza last year, and what a way to recover after their poor race in Spain last time out. In sixth we had Albon, who looked like he was doing okay for the majority of the race, just dropping a position to Ocon on the final lap. Norris was in seventh. He seemed to have tyres available to him when no one else did, and was part of the final few great laps with Ocon and Albon. Gasly finished in eighth, with Stroll and Perez following him in 9th and 10th. A really disappointing race for Racing Point. Kvyat was in 11th, Raikkonen 12th, 13th and 14th were the Ferraris of Vettel and Leclerc. A dismal race for them. 15th was Grosjean, 16th Latifi, and 17th was Magnussen. Giovinazzi and Russell went out after a big crash for Giovinazzi, in which his tyre detached and hit Russell. Hope those guys are both safe and well after that. Sainz never even got to the grid, sadly, due to his car having an exhaust issue, so he never went to the grid. So that's the rundown, but what were the major moments of the race? Well, the safety car certainly affected things. Again, I hope both Giovinazzi and Russell are okay. Both walked away, but it was a heavy one, and it's never nice to witness those things. The crash happened right around the window for the first pit stops anyway, so as you can imagine, everyone dived in to take advantage. Only Gasly and Perez stayed out, rocketing them up the list initially, but we saw them slide back slowly once the race got going again. I imagine their intent was to pit later and go on a charge towards the end of the race. This certainly worked well for Gasly, who got past both Racing Points late on, but not so much for Perez. The safety car pit stop didn't work out so well for Leclerc or Ocon. Ocon came in from 5th after getting past Albon early on, but it was double stacked with Ricciardo, and this delay allowed Albon to get back past him again. It took to the final lap of the race for Ocon to finally retake that place. Leclerc was the worst affected though. He had done a cracking job in the first part of the race, even getting up into the points. But when he came in for his stop, his tyres weren't ready, and this meant his pit stop time was a whopping 10 seconds, undoing all his good work and dropping him to the back of the grid. The pit stop hiccups for Leclerc were not done though. He came in again for a second stop, one of only 3 drivers to do so, and spent another 5 seconds in the pit box, an eternity for a racing driver. This once again dropped him to the back of the grid. Ferrari in general I felt were a bit all over the place. We knew their car was struggling to a massive degree around this track, but Vettel even got overtaken by Raikkonen's Alfa Romeo on pure pace at one point. I imagine that'll make some of the Ferrari higher-ups livid. The communication breakdown as well, it seems to have spread from Vettel to Leclerc as well. Ferrari at one point told Leclerc they might be looking at Plan C or Plan B, to which Leclerc had to ask which one they were thinking of because they're both very different, and he didn't get an answer. Basically, it's all falling apart at Ferrari right now. As a final positive point, in the final 4 laps or so, we had Ocon, Albon and Norris, 3 young guys in 3 different teams battling tooth and nail right to the finish line. That's what we want to see. And I really wish it was at the front of the grid. Let's hope that in time and with the new regulations, we'll get to see that in the future. There's no rest for the wicked though, as next week we're in Monza for the Italian Grand Prix as the high-speed, low-drag circuits continue. What did you guys think of the race? Is there anything you think Ferrari can do to avoid embarrassment like this again? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.